Greg Burke from Shacknews here with Blake Morris. We are here with David and John from Arcade1Up, and we're going to have a nice little interview.
He's more handsome than David.
I'm Cyrus. I represent the licensing team. Nice to meet
you. You know what? It was the mask. I couldn't see, and you're far away.
Sorry about that, yeah.
Okay, let me start again. Actually, no, I lost my privileges. Blake, you can do it. I lost my privileges.
Kind of looks like David, but a little short.
Yeah, you'll see my true identity soon enough. That's another Arcade1Up reveal.
Give it another go, Greg. Give it another
Hey guys, Greg Burke from Shacknews here. I'm here with our reviews editor, Blake Morris. And we're here with Arcade1Up, John and Cyrus. How are you guys doing today?
Oh man, this is the last day of CES, and it's been great. It's been great. No sleep.
But spirits are high.
Spirits are definitely high.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's too bad too, because you guys usually have a huge booth presence at CES. I saw you guys at Toy Fair, and you guys had a huge booth there, and you have a really cool, gigantic cabinet that you do every year, which is awesome to see. So it's quite a change for you guys to go digital.
It is. I love the interaction with, people who love our product and talking to our partners, and I miss it. I miss getting outside of the house. But, what I really was missed is having those prototypes that we've, shown this week, and actually having the fans play the prototypes. So we were going to build a huge 4-player X-Men cabinet. That would have been awesome. But hey, we can still have fun at CES this way.
I'm wondering, since you guys announced that's one of your new things you announced, did you guys ever jokingly are people like, where's the 6-player version?
If we did a 6-player version in that scale, that's probably the only thing we could put in that booth.
Yeah, you would need two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It would literally take almost half the booth, probably.
Oh, more probably.
Yeah. But I mean, the 6-player cabinet is something that I know the fans have been asking us to do. I mean, we'll see. It takes a lot to even put 4 players on that.
It would be 2 cabinets side by side, right? Because remember the original one was so huge, and it had 2 screens in it. It was gigantic.
Yeah. It was one big cabinet with dual screens, but if you put it on this scale, it'd probably be about this big.
Yeah, 2 of your cabinets already. Yeah. The biggest one you've ever made. Consumers.
So, you guys have worked on other Konami brawlers before. You guys have done the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the past. What was it like continuing to add, getting the X-Men and, how did it come together? Did you guys go to Konami after TMNT and be like, I bet the X-Men cab would do pretty well, or did they come to you guys and would you want to do an X-Men cab? Who approached to it first?
We definitely approached Konami first, and we probably wanted to do that deal quickly, along with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Konami wanted us to slow down a bit. Let's see how this goes, and because X-Men is a treasured, almost a holy grail for some fans in the arcade business. And so we started discussing this, and of course we also have the Marvel license. And to me, if something only happens when all parties are in, so we're really happy about that.
Of course, yeah. And not to mention, we've also included G mode on there because, of course, all of our cabinets are multi-games. So we also wanted to include Captain America: The Avengers, and that's a whole other path to go down. So.
That's true. I mean, this is our first cabinet that has 3 licensors on it. Marvel, G mode, and definitely Konami. And Konami only had one Marvel title in their arcade lineup, so we obviously couldn't, just release something with one title. So we talked to both Konami and Gmode, say, hey, let's all work together, let's all have fun, and right when they all agreed, it was full steam ahead. This is a beloved franchise for myself. I loved X-Men. I remember reading it when I was a kid, and I guess my era of X-Men is between issues 100 and 200, and my favorite is the Dark Phoenix saga. If you look at this, this comes from, this pose is from the iconic pose from the DC what's it called? DC Crisis of Infinite Earths when Supergirl died. So that's kind of homage to that. That's kind of cool. Marvel giving DC a shout out. But yeah, man, I love the X-Men. Our company loves the X-Men. It's a dream come true for us.
Sweet. Man, so you know, the one of the other cabinets that you just announced was the Killer Instinct cabinet. I mean, Killer Instinct like blew my mind. This is one of the most insane fighting games ever. Like the infinite combos, there's a lot of over the topness to it, and like the first job I ever got was working I was 13 working under the table for this place, and they had a Killer Instinct cab, and after work we would like lock up, we'd crank up the volume on it and just put it on free play. And
the sound coming from that machine, right?
Right? It just combo breaker, like echoing, like reverberating the bass.
Combo.
Yeah, it was just amazing. So I was curious what the process was like to bring that to life, and how much input did Rare have on the cab when working with you guys?
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the history. So originally, Nintendo had the rights to it along with Rare, who was considered a second party at the time. And along the way, Microsoft gained those rights. And we've had relationships with Microsoft in my career. It kept the dialogue going. And so actually, it was about 2 toy fairs ago. A couple of awesome guys from Microsoft visits our booth, likes what we're doing, and says, "Hey, we're from Microsoft. We'd like to do Killer Instinct." And I said, "Please, let's do this, right?" And it's a surprise because numerous issues that come along with this game. It's definitely more of a higher power game than we're used to. So a lot of people are wondering if we can actually emulate this correctly. And also we're adding online, I think. So
absolutely,
right?
live gameplay on all games, actually. So we're including Battletoads also.
Woo!
So
Battletoads.
yeah, I think this just represents one of those, it was a long path to get there, and it only comes from when everybody really wants to see a product like this, from both the fans and us, and the support of Microsoft. When everybody wants to see a great product happen, it finally comes together.
That's crazy. I love
We're
it.
still can't believe it.
Yeah, no, it was just, I just remember it being such a visual pioneer at the time as well. So I'm really excited because this is a game that's hard to recreate the arcade experience outside of just owning a cabinet, you know?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and what I loved about it at the time, you said you were out 13. You probably played both this Super Nintendo version, and actually, was there a Super Nintendo?
Yeah, no,
right?
there's a Super Nintendo
with the FX chip,
Uh-huh.
right? I remember, right? And just the fluidity of the game, right? Because all we remember at the time was Mortal Kombat with its gore, but it wasn't as fluid. And then you had Street Fighter, which was fluid, and it seemed like a good amalgamation. So I said that before, and for people who've never played it, it's really easy to, pull off combos. And then for the tactician, there's a lot of levels of strategy within that fighting game. So it's a beloved game. I'm glad people are surprised about it. And there's a lot more coming from Microsoft and Rare. And Rare has been very instrumental getting our product to where it's going to be, because they really want to make sure that it's authentic to the arcade experience that everyone remembers, right? But they're still open to changes that the community suggests. So if you love Killer Instinct, chime in with all your thoughts, and let's see what we can do.
Dragon's Lair and Space Ace. How often have people bugged you about these cabs in particular? Because I feel like this is one that must have come up a lot with fans.
That's actually kind of where it initially started. I mean, when we were deep into Wave 1 and we were still figuring out our original line and what we really wanted to do, of course this started from the ground up from the fans, and it was one of our most heavily fan requested items, and it took a long time to figure out how to do it, because we also wanted to do it and we wanted to do it right.
Right.
So
we know that there are other versions out there. but I think our version is unique. Tell them about the transfer and the build that we used.
So yeah, what really was important to us is Dragon's Lair comes from the original Don Bluth animations, and we weren't gonna not do that justice. We're gonna bother to make Dragon's Lair, let's really make it. So we designed the 4x3 screen to get the original HD transfer of the original animation cells. And what that does is when you'll see, you know, if you put Dragon's Lair on another screen, if you try to emulate it, you're gonna get a 16:9 crop. But our screen is going to preserve the original animations and really in an attempt to show everything that game was.
Yeah, I guess what we're really trying to do is try to present the game in its true intended resolutions. And like you said, like what is 4:3 HD?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably closer to like IMAX or something. But the versions you see out there in mobile takes that original, aspect ratio and just chops it so it can be 16:9. That's kind of, an easy way, but not the ideal way to do it. We're showing it in full resolution. And get this, I mean, the game is really just a cartoon, like a choose your own adventure. It's all about the graphics. People love to watch it. So adding second screen support, not only for the scoreboard, but also being able to plug it into whatever device so other people can watch, it's a great thing. I think that these are the kind of ideas that we get from the fan community, mod community, and here we are.
Nice, that's awesome. That's cool to know that you're listening to that and that you're paying attention to that. Especially as like an arcade fanboy myself, who grew up on a lot of these games. Like I could probably sit here and list off a number of requests all day long of games I'd love to see. But it's great because I feel like, there's definitely you guys hit some like various standards, but I also feel like you guys recognize like the rare gems too,
It's for that very reason that we included the Space Ace variant, That's a SKU we never thought we were going to even be able to try, but it's up there for our fans to really petition for it so we can actually attempt to get it made.
Oh, I hope we get it made.
Oh my god, it would be, yeah.
Shoot.
Man.
Space Ace is great too. I mean, every Don Bluth, if you research like his artwork, it had that distinct style. Very close to Disney, but still its own. And and now we have opportunity to take those silver spoons memories and bring them home.
There you go. That's awesome. Speaking of variations, though, you got the NBA basketball there. You guys have already done NBA Jam, but I have a feeling like there was more than one. First of all, there's more than one version of NBA Jam, and there's more than one NBA basketball game out there.
Oh yeah, there's many.
Yeah, have you guys been looking into maybe like tournament edition of NBA Jam or something like that, or maybe Hang Time or another franchise?
If we do another variant of NBA Jam, I would suppose or assume that we would do an online version of Maximum Hang Time. Plus a few other games that people don't expect.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Should I say more?
Maybe just a little bit.
No, but yeah, I mean, they're also,
Would you say? Would
I
you
get
say?
myself in trouble. I'm usually not allowed to do these kind of interviews because I.
Okay.
So
Would you say that you might be blitzing us with several titles that we might not be expecting?
I would love to blitz everyone because I think everyone wants to be blitzed, but there's a certain amount of complications. I mean, let's just talk about it if you guys want to. But
yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sure the NFL license has to be like an extremely difficult thing, and I know that like that was a rough game. There were no flags really in that game. So.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess that's the narrative, right? In the beginning test stages of NBA Jam in the Chicago area, where they tested it, I mean, they had some crazy animations where you body slam. It was like wrestling, on the football field. But it's really not that violent, and that's what I want to continue to tell everyone. Like, play the game. Really, there are no like over-the-top animations. The only thing that can be really said that's I guess harsh or rough is, during every pass play, there's always a PI. You can actually pass interference all the time. Yeah. But that's it. I mean, the late hits, you have to, really press the button at a certain, I think, 60 frames to get it. But like the complications with NFL Blitz, yeah, it's convincing NFL that it's not a violent game, which it's not. We're working with Mark Tamel to like see what our options are. For NBA Jam, that was, they had a certain list of rosters, right, and to get rights for. But for NFL Blitz, you talk about defense and offense. Take that roster list and times it by like 13. Yeah, 30 exactly. 2 teams. That much. So that's one complication. But look, nothing's off the table. We're still having discussions. I'd love to do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see.
Should I say that? You can say that.
I'll let you say it.
You can let me say it.
But careful.
As your catalog has continued to expand, like you guys have been adding in a lot of Wi-Fi capabilities that allow people to play with their friends online, which is awesome. It's a brilliant idea. Has that feature had any sort of influence on the games that you're looking to license or pursue in particular? Or is it just sort of like what you think is going to be cool for the fans?
Right, so having Wi-Fi is kind of like Scott's vision to bring retro into the future. And think about all the arcade games that you played, right? And being able to play them online, it really brings a sense of arcade-back community during these COVID times, playing online. And so, does it affect the games that we choose? Of course it does. It's in a positive way, we like kind of go down our list and what would we love to play online? Is it Blitz or is it this or anything else that I shouldn't say? But yeah, it definitely affects it, and you're going to start seeing that a lot more with X-Men. We had Turtles, Killer Instinct.
I think every cabinet, as we've kind of grown from, introducing a 4-player to introducing the fight yoke to introducing collaborations, I think everybody is always going to be limited by their scope. So each time we're able to expand our scope by adding a feature, we're going to expand the potential games list tenfold by that.
Oh man, let's talk about the pinball tables. So last year,
pinballs.
Oh my god, this is so cool. I love what you guys are doing here. So last year, you began rolling out your pinball tables with the help of Zen Studios. How is that going, and when can we expect to see an expansion
of the pinball
for the catalog in the future?
Well, so we haven't even released our Wave ones yet. They should be coming very soon. Say hi to my son Dylan. He's in charge of my social media.
What's up, Dylan? You blowing up the Death Star?
Yeah, look at he loves this game.
Oh man,
isn't that cool? What does it say?
Yeah.
Arcade1Up Junior. Isn't that cute?
That's adorable.
Isn't that cute?
Oh, representing.
Yeah, so look, I honestly believe pinball is one of the best products we made. The design is very elegant, outside and inside, right? This was meant to be, and here's kind of what people miss about this. The pinball is a 3 2 3/4 scale. And it's supposed to fit right into your man cave with all the other 3/4 scale arcades that we're building. And if you notice on the, on the top part, you'll see on the side panels, they're actually shark finned. I don't think people caught that. So it's really meant to be a part of the collection. Now, we had to focus on 10 really good games per table. And that takes a lot of work to make sure that each and every one of these games, can work correctly with the solenoids that we have, and an accelerometer, the plunger, and everything. And so, we're going to continue to take feedback. What do people want? Do people want bigger screens? Do people want to add more games for the Zen? Possibilities out there to have, a Wave 2 possibly in the future. That can't, I could digitally download more games. But just know, everything that we offer has to be fully tested to work on the system. We guarantee that. That's Zen's expertise. And if we do a Wave 2 with that kind of a marketplace, the online marketplace, of course, we'll allow people who have the Wave 1s to possibly upgrade with a Wi-Fi kit and make everyone happy. Of course. So, but we're just starting, and we're just happy to be in the conversation.
Elaborating a bit more on that, you guys have to deal with a lot of noise. Are you making this cabinet? Are you making this pinball machine? Like all the time. How are you guys able to take that noise and kind of segment out where there is actually interest if you license X arcade game?
You know, I wish there was a simple answer, but the actual answer is it's been our Facebook group and our official community, and they have really been our loudest supporters. So it really takes us and a couple other great team members looking through each and every individual comment, finding the trends, talking to people. And you'd be surprised, people will Facebook message, you know, entire paragraphs of really excellent, well thought out suggestions. So, you know, the Arcade1Up design team is, you know, 18K members strong when you actually...
Oh, wow.
Like what people of actual, real, legitimate suggestions. And I think a lot of our best stuff has come from that. I mean, I would say pinball is at its most durable as a result of their suggestions and what's currently out on the market.
That's all. Oh, what's is that a Sony blanket back there?
I mean, I don't know if you guys know, I used to work for Sony. So I got a lot of Sony gear. Sony PlayStation, gosh, back in the late 90s. Designs, the corporate logos.
Oh,
yeah.
Very stylish.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
underneath that's the PS6 beta console.
PS6? Oh,
Made by Arcade1Up.
can't pre-order right now.
Yeah, right. Can't believe we got the rights. They said go crazy.
I'd love to do a PlayStation console.
Oh, who wouldn't? Yeah.
So, like another really cool thing, like this is you guys recently kickstarted was you had the
table?
infinity table, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, how's that going? Are we moving over to the next spot?
We're moving over to this artist from one of my favorite artists, Justin. What's your IG, Justin?
My IG is dirty.electric. You can see it right there.
So, Infinity Game
I like that plug. That's an organic plug.
Oh man, these Street Fighter figures are so dope.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about the success of the Infinity Game
So the Infinity Gaming Table really came from us wanting to evolve, and we really wanted to take all of these iconic board games, all of the kind of licenses that everybody already loves. We partnered with Hasbro and Asmodee, and we wanted to bring these games to life in a totally new way. So the success, I think, really comes from authenticity. It was our fan community who really primarily funded the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But really, I think what the Infinity Gaming Table is it's a show and tell experience. You know, a lot of what board games exist as is in your imagination.
Exactly.
But I'll give you an example. We were playing Monopoly earlier today, and he sent me directly to jail. Now, granted, this is a prototype, but already with this is the sirens were booming.
Right.
My character got dragged. The animations.
There's like a little rumble, a little bit.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I heard this from our team, but what are you, Dungeons and Dragons kind of person?
Oh, dude, I'm a huge D&D nerd. I was playing my campaign last night.
Oh, amazing. So let's take that as a potential example, right? This is all just spitballing here, but
conjecture.
And I can't say I'm as well versed as you, but a lot of what D&D is, you know, is in the player's imagination. And what I think makes this product so amazing is we don't get in the way of that. That's not to confirm D&D for this, but as to say is, you know, I've seen an amazing Etsy community around D&D. I know that 5e has become relatively more accessible to new players, and I see a lot of people building boards, custom dice, parts, characters, to really elaborate on their campaigns. But the Infinity Gaming Table would just have the animations outright. And if you're wondering something about a character, you just click the character, go straight to
Library Pass.
Library Pass,
right?
All the information is right
There
there.
you go.
So we want to streamline the process of imagination, but we don't necessarily want to get in the way of it.
Nice. So it might allow people to make their own dungeons for their campaigns or something like that.
Mate, please, go ahead, pitch us anything. Yeah.
All right, I will
We
pitch you
defer to
several
you.
things. I'll pitch you several things after this interview then.
Please.
All right, that's freaking rad. So this is the prototype here,
Yeah.
and so, like how is this gonna work? Is it gonna come preloaded with a ton of different?
Yeah, it's gonna be preloaded with about 50 games,
Yeah.
upwards of 50 games. And we'll also have an online marketplace where you can purchase more. And then we're also going out to, I know that we have big hitters like Asmodee and Hasbro, but we also want, the hardcore community who's probably made their own games before, probably have a real board game, want to translate that digitally. Hey, this is open. This is such an easy, open environment for people to develop for.
And so much of the reason of that is why we actually went to Kickstarter with this project. The Kickstarter board game community is one of the most lively board game communities, and we want to see what they're creating, and we want to be a part of that. In the same way that our cabinets were for the fans on Facebook, this is really for the Kickstarter community.
Right. I mean, it's infinity gaming tables, infinite possibilities. This will continue to evolve as a platform, and we will leverage all of our brands. Tastemakers is a house of brands, and like whether it's Game of Thrones, it could be on there, or Harry Potter, or Grogu.
Hopefully.
I hate that. Grogu? Oh, no, I love Grogu.
You love Grogu.
I love Baby Yoda. The name, still getting used to, but like I said, there's a lot of possibilities for our IPs and their content to be right on this table. So it's a lot of potential.
Absolutely.
Even just coloring books. I would love like a Harry Potter coloring book, a Game of Thrones coloring book.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, like with online,
Yeah.
Sure,
Game of Thrones coloring book, all you're gonna need is the red.
The red.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I hated that episode.
this is brutal.
Much.
That was one of the boldest things I've ever seen on TV, man. But like getting back on track here. So the Outrun Cabinet, hell yeah, a racing cabinet. Like racing
cabinet gets one of my favorite driving games of all time, and then finally bringing it out. Sega was really excited for us to do it, and to have our first driving game be Outrun. How can you get better than that, right?
Yeah, like, oh man, but this is this opening the floodgates now? Like, are we gonna get like hard? Are we gonna get like stunt driving and hard driving?
Cruising
and, like,
the USA.
Cruising USA. I mean, now that you're working with like
Ridge Racer, you could think of, or Fast and Furious. There's so many possibilities, right? And we want to make sure that before we get to the Daytonas of the world, there's a lot of games before we get to Daytona.
Oh my God, that Daytona song though.
Daytona.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games of all time, and it's one of our dreams. Create like an 8-player Link in your home. I would buy 8 to link them together. Have you guys seen that in like Dave & Buster's? Those 8-player Links.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. That's incredible.
I literally always dreamed of having one in my house.
Well,
I don't think my wife will be happy with that.
Yeah. There's always a chance.
Man, yeah, like, but just along those lines, one of the things I really like is like that you're making a few things here and there with proprietary controllers, like the Star Wars cab. I see that Atari cab, and I'm like, that's the only way to play that game. Yeah. It's
play with a mouse. You play with a controller.
No, it doesn't work. Like some of these games that you're choosing, it's the only way to really get the authentic feel is to use that controller and stuff like that. So I is that another thing you're exploring? Because there's like off the top of my head, Xenophobe is an incredible arcade game. That was a Midway brand as well, and it had a very unique controller setup in that it had like 3 joysticks for people, and then you have things like Virtual On, which
Virtual On with the 2 sticks. I think I had that for the Saturn. It was expensive.
That's right.
It's funny too because John, you told me that the yoke for the Star Wars thing was a bit of there was a lot of research that went into that. Because the other one was metal, and you couldn't make it out of metal, so you had to figure out a way to do it. So that's a really, it's an interesting question how that stuff came about.
Our brilliant engineers and designers, we have top-notch designers from ThinkUp, and our internal team, like Jason, and they really just took it apart. Scott gave them a pretty crazy project, saying you've got to make sure that we have the yoke that most people can say is pretty good and pretty much the same, because those controllers in the aftermarket were going for $350 by themselves with
Right.
all those parts, right?
A lot of metal in them too. That's why too. They're heavy too as well.
Yeah, we dissected every piece to say, okay, this can be metal, this can be plastic, and we came out with a solution that, hey, if you're not a super hardcore Star Wars arcade fan, you won't know the difference. But we understand when you get to those higher levels, it needs precision, right? Precision everywhere to get all those fireballs. And so we have people who are experts in the game and who had cabinets themselves and tested it out, and they said, yeah, this is pretty good. I was really shocked. I remember when Scott gave the project, I don't know if we can do this, but yeah, kudos to the team for sure. And it really brings back, why is retro now coming back, right? After the arcades are done, you see so many games that you can only play, like you said, with the appropriate controller. If you try to play Centipede for the first time with a D-pad, you're gonna hate the game. Right? If you're gonna play Karate Champ for the first time with a D-pad instead of sticks, it's not the same. Same with Star Wars. You gotta play with the yoke, and that's why we're bringing the arcade experience back with authentic controls that you remember that really give it justice to these classic arcade games.
If we can't do it right, we're not going to do it. And
Why
that's
not?
been a lot of products that has been, pushed back, or we've almost revealed it or then didn't because
We don't have the technology yet.
it's also about finding games that work together. Like me personally, I'd love to do Paperboy, right? But, see, he always laughs at me.
No. I hate Paperboy. I love Paperboy. I love going, they have the
But how are we
handlebars.
going to do it?
How many other games have the handlebars?
None.
Paperboy 2, and I think that's it.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. Press 1 in the comments if you find another game that if you think you can have to sell a Paperboy with just Paperboy.
Yeah, you want to help me out there, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can have replaceable yokes or something. Put a yoke in there, play roll
Oh,
blast.
modular yokes! Holy crap, that'd
Modular
be
yokes,
amazing.
maybe.
Oh,
That's the only thing I
that.
can think of.
Your engineers are going, please God, no.
Oh, I know. They hate when we talk about, because I speak for the fans, and they go, gosh, what is this guy creating a product for? I'm not creating a product. I'm trying to tell you guys what the fans want. That's all we do.
They're creating the fans.
The
Yeah.
fans are supposed to be creating product, like a partner is supposed to be creating product.
Well,
We're just
speaking
kind of facilitator.
speaking of fans creating product, I'm just gonna ask, The Simpsons. Like, I'm sure you guys have been bothered a million times by this, but now it's like, Konami and Fox and all that stuff. like,
Disney,
all under
X-Men, they're all in the same boat now, so
Yeah.
that's what's going on.
one- Yeah. What's
Okay, I mean, Simpsons. Let's talk about it because we should. Everyone wants to hear about it. I mean,
yeah, one of the most iconic fighting games, or I guess beat 'em up games ever made.
it's super deep. There's so much animations on that with like the skateboard and all the VO. It really brought the comic book to life. But what can I say about that? First of all, Fox was recently acquired by Disney, right? And we've worked with Disney, and we also work with Konami. And like we said, if all parties are willing, there's a way. Are we up there right now? No, not yet. I don't think so. But could we? Sure. We want the fans to go on social media and say this is the game we want. I think we've heard it, right?
We've heard it more than enough times, absolutely.
And then Gracie Films are super. Well, I hear they're still super involved, and they want to make sure that they have a partner who they know that can build quality products and they can really bring their cabinet to life. So, is it a possibility? I think so. I hope we get there.
Nice. Well, we do too. A lot of our staff it has their fingers crossed and is rooting for you. So
Yeah.
is there anything that people can do to like help that process along?
Yeah, they say
Because-
go on social and tell them you want the Simpsons.
Yeah, go to our
arcade
fan
cabinet.
page, go to our official pages. We have a very active fan page on Facebook. It's the official fan page there, so go there. There are a lot of people with a lot of opinions and a lot of passion, so
Absolutely.
do that. Yeah. But Simpsons, yeah, I think it would be successful if we released it, if we could.
If we had it live, right?
Oh.
That's a slam dunk, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
But you got to think again, like what other games would be on Simpsons cabinet?
Sunset Riders.
Well, I think
Anything
Sunset
Konami, right? So
Riders-
the world is your oyster.
We're ready with that one.
I think Sunset Riders is such a great game that it deserves its own cabinet. That's my personal opinion.
That was another double-sized cabinet back in the day too. Like the
it's
X-Men.
huge. So Sunset Riders were my favorite, arcade games with multiplayer. I'd probably pair it up with Violent Storm and other games. But would Sunset Riders be a part of a supposed Simpsons cabinet? I mean, it's difficult because Disney or Fox or Gracie may just want all Simpsons on there, and that's pretty much like how Marvel works too. And a lot of almost everybody, they just want their own IPs, and that's great. Because if you just want these games, we can make more.
That's cool.
Make more variations, make more of that. But yeah,
I mean, I get it. I understand why they would be like that. It's understandable as like a brand that you don't want to co-brand yourself with things that you can't control.
I mean, if I were to have a Simpsons cabinet or something, someone wants to build it for me, I really wanted all Simpsons themed. But that's my opinion.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to authenticity, I think there's an even added level with The Simpsons. I only say that because it's the longest running animated show, and they have a long history of video games within that show. So I think we have to do Bart Simpson respect. I think that would be our audience for this game, when it comes to this.
Can we talk about something very subtle that you guys have shown on your ones you've announced at CES, is that you are now adding the fronts. I'm assuming it's for display only, but the coin inserts are on the front of your cabs now. Talk a little about that.
Well, yeah, that was a long requested fan item, and it's something we always wanted to do. With Legacy, we've introduced the concept, so it will be a decal, but then as we move forward even through to 2021, both Dragon's Lair, X-Men, Killer Instinct, they're all going to have a plastic physical coin door, which of course doesn't immediately accept. It's not a consumer thing. However, it really does represent an even further step into authenticity with these things.
Yeah, I love it.
And even then, we're still iterating on it. Since we've announced that, we've gotten a lot of fan requests for, does it light up? Can you make it light up before release date? And we're always looking in, all designs are iterative until launch day, I would say, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're not able to do it, right, like the example you said with the lit coin doors or coin slots, why don't you give the mod community an easy path to do it? That's what I say.
Yeah, no, the word I think I was trying to look for was dynamic. You guys seem like you're ready for whatever comes your way, and you can kind of adjust to whatever you're going to need to be able to do.
You have to adjust. In the beginning in our first launch, 3 years ago already?
Almost
3 years ago. I mean, we had to come up with a certain look of these. It had to be kind of all uniform. And then when our products evolve as the fans, expect it. I'm sorry about that. This is live. And we have to evolve with what the market conditions are, what the fans want. If you don't adapt, you can be left behind.
No, and you guys have adapted incredibly well. When you guys first launched, remember your goal was to get to the most competitive price point you could fiscally get.
Right.
And since that point, people they sold so well, and you've got so much feedback. You've improved the quality of your parts, added protective plating, increased the quality of materials. You've been able to do all these things over the growth of your company that just makes for an overall, albeit a little more expensive product, but an overall nicer product.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it starts. You go to a Walmart and you see like the Pac-Man you remember for $2.99, and you remember those arcade cabinets go for upwards of $3K.
Yeah.
You get that entry level price point, then people want to start modding it, right? Just like I'm glad that this line is a collectible line, just like how you mod cars, right? You could put different grill or lights or rims or like a whistle that goes woo. It's a lot of things that you could do, and I like that we have a mod community that wants to upgrade it. So now most people want a riser. Most people want lit mercury.
Right.
So we are able to get different price points for different audiences, and it's great.
The other thing I like about them is I live on the 3rd floor of an apartment building with no elevator, and I can actually get these up into my apartment. Unlike, I've thought about buying arcade cabs before. I used to own a couple. They're really freaking heavy.
Oh yeah.
And you know,
Can't do that by yourself.
Yeah, and most of them aren't in good condition anymore. Like, or they need attentions or maintenances that I can't provide them. You know, and I also, like, you know, I look at the cost of one of your cabs, which has several games, versus the cost of a singular cab with like one game, and it's just there's no you guys win because I can actually afford your cabinets, and I get more games for the money I would have spent on like just a singular.
And we love that collectability aspect, you know, even when I, you know, unless you are a very, very at the most hardcore collector, even when you do finally get a cab for your living room, your family environment, you got to kind of pick your favorite. But the idea that you can have multiple and, you know, line them up, that's always a very exciting. We love to see it when people post pictures. That's one of the most common trends in our fan pages. People always posting pictures of their collections, how they display. It gives us a lot of ideas, actually, yeah.
I mean, I don't know many people who have just one cabinet.
I can't think of any.
Right?
No.
Because when you have one, you're gonna get more for sure.
I have two in my living room, and one that I need to put together, and pretty sure I'm gonna be getting rid of my bed soon to make room for more Arcade1Up cabs, and then eventually the whole apartment will just be filled with them, and I'll sleep in a corner.
Exactly. It's like functional furniture. Instead of having, you know, regular coffee table, buy the infinity game table, right? You know, and instead of having just a normal seat, buy a bench with freaking Star Wars or Outrun. There's always possibilities. It's just, you know, if you want some drawers for your kids, why don't you just mod some drawers underneath that cabinet? You know, you put it everywhere.
Yeah, that's you mentioned the seats and stuff. That's another thing, like, I think is really cool is you guys also make like arcade bar stools and things like that, as well as a few other little odds and ends. Like I bought one of your Pac-Man lights recently.
Oh, the Pac-Man lights that you hang?
Yeah.
Those hanging lights?
Yeah. You guys are experimenting with not only like the arcade, like merchandise now, like purely like, you know, aesthetic, like chairs, pins. You guys had some neon signs at CES last year, like that kind of stuff. How's that been going for you on the licensing side?
Oh man, I mean, first of all, the retailers that we work with always want something different. So, you know, whether it's maybe have lit cup holders, or, you know, that could be something. You know, anything to accessorize your man cave. You know, scoreboards that you can write on, which actually QVC wanted to do, and so we made it for them. Who knows what else? I mean, we hear all the talk about, we want one of those. What's that, claw machine?
Claw machine. A lot of people have been surfacing asking for more physical products.
Or, you know, maybe
oh my god, a claw machine.
A token machine. I don't know. There's limitless possibilities, but yeah, the accessory stools have been going really selling successfully. I think our attachment rate for stools is something pretty crazy, like over 30%, if not more. You know, that's pretty good. So yeah, we can continue to do those things, and you see like a lot of these cabinets have their matching stools, like Marvel versus Capcom. You see the Marvel stool first, and then maybe you want to have a matching Capcom stool to complete the set. You know, those type of ideas that actually come from our community.
That's right. And you know, as a Pac-Man fan, I'm always a sucker for Pac-Man merchandise. So
I love Pac-Man, man. Don't worry, we can do Pac-Man forever.
You guys had some cool prototypes last year too, for specifically Pac-Man, like some interesting proof of concepts, as it were, that we saw.
Oh, you know, there's a lot more that we can do with the franchise that makes it fresh, you know. And recently, and this is again why we love our community. When we released Miss Pac-Man, they're saying, well, why don't we have the speed settings on there? But speed settings weren't a part of the original,
dip switch settings in the beginning of the first runs of Miss Pac-Man. But we heard them, okay, why don't we do that? So, you know, we patch it in. And it's those type of ideas that bring the game, that makes the game fresh. Those ideas that make the IPs fresh and different types of artwork on the outside.
I think the idea that no game is finished, that we can continue to add to anything post-release, pre-release, and everything in between, it's really exhilarating to kind of just know that we can fix everything. We can make the ultimate experience for each of these arcade machines.
Nice. Speaking of like creating that Arcade1Up experience, how do you guys choose which game is going to be like the face of the cabinets that you're making, like the one on the marquee?
Okay, there's a lot that goes into game lists, right? And there's a lot that goes into what the lead title is. So if we come to the final game list, and we pick the lead title for a few reasons. One is what's the most iconic artwork, right? And you know, what's most popular. So that's how we pick the lead game. Now, how we pick the game list, oof. We go into it for hours on that one, but it's a collaborative process between, you know, the IP holders and tastemakers and ThinkUp and Code Mystics and all this stuff, because these games have to have to be logical with whatever control panel that we're using, right? So that's one factor. And then also the publishers, and is there any conflicting IP rights, you know? And again, there's some cabinets that will have 12 games. Some cabinets may only have 2 games. Our cabinets, like you said, of these arcade games only had one game, but the appeal for this, you know, and the appeal that we're trying to have with this authenticity is, you know, making sure that this is what you remember, but more, bringing retro to the future, doing online play and all that stuff. So I don't know if I answered that question. Sometimes I rant. You can like stop me.
Hold on a second. I have a DoorDash.
Oh wait, DoorDash. It's coming through. Okay, we'll just sit here. Great,
Yeah,
the
no
elevator
problem.
music.
No, I can ask Silas another question.
Oh, wait,
go
hold
ahead.
on.
I mean, obviously you guys with the Big Buck World, you recently got into light gun technology for your cabinets, which is a big deal. So what's that?
What are those? Those are
Snacks. Go ahead.
donuts.
Just carry on.
Donuts.
So you're talking about light guns. So we didn't want to do a light gun. We didn't want to do a light gun until we figured out the technology, right? And for LCDs and those type of monitors, this guy was super involved in it.
You essentially, I mean, there's a long modding history of the light gun games for a reason. It's because these games were designed around the idea of CRTs, right? So getting them in modern LCDs was an entire beast that we knew we weren't ready to tackle in Wave 1. But it actually came from a real, genuine modder, engineer, fan, and genius Andy Sinden.
Oh, man.
And he had developed on his own light gun technology. And then when I was an intern here at Tastemakers way back when, he reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, I like what you do. Can we do something? And of course, my eyes lit up because I thought, you know, that opens the floodgates.
Let me interrupt you, okay? Because I was part of the process from the other end. We were going through some ghetto solutions on this. We were going to the ghetto, like, let's throw in a plug and play in there, and then just like we put it, you know, the camera there, and no one know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going through this for months, literally months, trying to figure out how to do this because we knew we had to release a light gun this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Light gun game, and this intern, I love interns, but he goes, hey, I have a solution. Right, and he brings up Sinden, and Jason goes, if what he's saying is true, then that's brilliant. We should do that. Fucking solve the issue. Super solve an issue. That's why, like, never underestimate anybody. You know, never discount anyone just because of their age. Oh, this guy, man,
Made it happen.
Smart dude, man.
So we have you to thank for Cabela, basically.
Really,
No,
we have Andy Sinden, but, you know, I'll take credit when I can.
Fair enough. Oh
But
man.
no, this guy has just been incredible. I don't even know how I couldn't fully explain to you what he does. It could very well be magic, but he can create a light gun that is so precise that it shocks everybody here on our team. So it really comes from this authenticity of, if you reach out to us, there's a real chance anything could happen. I mean, we don't blow off any situations and
Right.
Right.
And
You're not
so
gonna
that's
turn
how-
down.
Technology
There
can
you
do
go.
it. We can do it.
You're not gonna turn.
No, we can do more.
You're not gonna turn down any franchise like, let's say, Star Wars, or maybe a franchise involving pink donuts with sprinkles on them, or anything like that.
What
right?
franchise?
Was there a franchise?
Franchise. You know, the pink donut sprinkle franchise, that classic game, pink donut with sprinkles.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
No.
Don't
Okay,
get myself
cool.
too involved in pop culture.
Yeah, we're not really that passionate about it, I would say.
Yeah.
It's all
I'm just like
business.
a pencil pusher.
Did you
But
guys?
yeah, anything like, look, we've been happy to make our partners happy. You know, doing things that they want to do, doing things that the fans want to do things where it merges. And I think that's the perfect project with the collaborations like that.
Balance in the force.
Balance of the force.
I mean, that's interesting because you're talking about yokes and stuff. There is another game that was very popular in the late 90s, early 2000s, which was Star Wars Arcade. Man, that was a fun game. That was a really fun
You
game.
mean the Sega trilogy?
Yeah, and it was
Yeah, that was
huge. That thing
really
was
good.
gigantic. It had two versions. It had like a huge one and then like a regular size one, but no one played the regular size one. You know that
No,
huge.
you get the
So you gotta have
cockpit.
the big version with the flight stick. Well, that is an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
I love
and,
that game.
We're
Man.
we're a little bit off, far off in terms of being able to bring that to the home. But when prices for chipsets, and CPUs, and all that, when they tend to drop, and then it becomes a viable product. But look, we're fans of every game, and when everyone says, "Hey, we should do this," I say, "Yeah, let's do that. We should do, yeah, let's do that." But it just takes time. There's a roadmap to everything we do, and there's hundreds and hundreds of arcade games that, you know, if you say like Paperboy, maybe eventually, you know, maybe we have detachable controllers, control sets as possible, and maybe more guns, more games that use the Atari yoke, like Road Blasters. So there's, again, we'll get to everything eventually, I think.
Yeah,
We
if we have
should.
the bandwidth, it's all coming.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's not something that most people know, then we can just sell it direct.
There you go. Well, fellas, it's been a pleasure talking with both of you today. Yeah, we've been here quite a while, and we've gone over a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. It's Friday night. I'm sure you guys want to snack down on these donuts.
I do want to leave off with one more question for you guys, and it's a fun one, if you can answer it. And that is, you guys work in the world of licensing, and you guys meet with a lot of people and have to track down IPs. Do you guys have any funny stories about an IP, maybe not one you've made or one you've looked into, that just led a really funny path? Like, did you ever like have to go down to a house, knock on a door, and see some 90-year-old guy and be like, "You own the rights to this? Can we use this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." You had any funny stories like that with certain IP, certain arcade games that you can share?
There's a lot of stories. A lot of stories, and a lot of it has to do with some bars and restaurants we go to and what happens afterwards. or it's funny stories. It's like some games are mystery, right?
Yeah.
Because these games from the 80s and 90s may have changed ownership along the way. And there are a lot of games that go into limbo because, for example, if Warner bought Atari and Atari does Star Wars, and when there is a merger or an acquisition, then the company that's acquiring the other company doesn't want to take risks of IPs that they don't own, so they may just not acquire those rights, and it may happen that those rights are just, again, like I said, in limbo. And then when you talk to our licensing partners and their legal teams, it's very hard to find a lot of contracts that were done at those times. right? Because everything was physical paper.
Handshake deals.
And possibly handshake deals. Handshake deals happen almost all the time. But the way we navigate through that is kind of just trying to find the history, trying to find the people involved, right? And we have a lawyer. His name is Jamie Cook, one of the first video game lawyers during Atari. And I could just ask him, hey, what happened to Tengen and this situation with Atari? And he'll just, I was involved in that. We did this, this, and this. Or maybe you should ask Parker Brothers, who used to own that IP, and now it's Hasbro. And usually Hasbro may not even know about that. So, one time, a lot of times we just have to knock on people's doors and bring an arcade machine right to them. We did that many times and say, look, we need to do this. We did that with Zen Studio. They were telling us no for a long time. So we went to Hungary, and Scott and I, and then we actually shipped a big, a prototype of our pinball machine. Scott actually did that when I was working at Capcom, and he brought a real Street Fighter 1 cabinet. So other funny stories I can't tell in public.
Right.
But,
that just sounds like a blast, though. Yeah, that's what I wanted to get out of it. Just it sounds like a blast.
Gosh.
You're like a team solving mysteries.
Yeah, it is solving mysteries. It's trying to find who are people directly involved. Well, let me give one example. Right, we're trying to find certain rights for NBA Jam. So we go, why don't we just go talk to Mark Trammell? Let's who knows Mark Trammell? Of course it gets there, and we email each other, and we have this excellent conversation, become friends, and he goes, and I go, hey Mark, I have some legal ambiguities or questions here, and he was able to answer it. So it is really having to be creative, going to the people who are directly involved sometimes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta show people what you're talking about, because it's especially with something physical like an arcade cabinet, it's hard to wrap your head around it if you don't see it.
I mean, it speaks for itself.
Yeah,
the product goes a long way.
The product goes long. You got to see it instead of just putting it on a presentation. You definitely have to see it. That's why Scott literally went to Namco, went to Atari, went to Capcom.
He knocked down their doors. Yeah.
Knocked down the doors. He did. I tell that story many times.
That's so cool. That's so cool to hear that, because that's almost like a really old school way of doing business. You know what I mean? Like physically going somewhere and saying, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" Like that's kind of cool. The digital age to do that is just really cool.
Yeah, well, it's cool. It's cool that everyone there has such an obvious passion for what you guys are doing too.
Thank you.
Because I think that's if you don't believe in what you're pushing, what's the point?
But everyone's passionate.
Yeah.
You're very passionate about during the arcade days. That was so fun, right? Meeting your friends there, not being old enough sometimes to even go to the arcades. Yeah, and that kind of experience really means a lot to to people during that time. Now it's coming back, and it's great to be able to kind of make products where people are so passionate about it and really have a great affinity for it.
Pretty soon, you guys will be making ticket prize booths for people to put in their houses and things like that.
Tickets, or maybe home slot machines. I love a Wheel of Fortune. A Wheel of Fortune machine, right?
I've won some money off of one of those before.
Oh man, when you get that spin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Only 10. But that's me. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love that one. Give me a Golden Girls one too while you're at it.
Deal or no deal, Arcade1Up. There you go.
Yeah.
We're writing it down. Yeah.
That would be fun. I'd love it.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, we're ready to join you guys for the next pitch meeting. It sounds like.
Do it. I mean, why not? Anytime that you guys want to spitball and share anything, or just even the ideas, we're always open for it.
I'm just gonna start texting you at
where I literally go over old arcade games.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna be texting you guys at 4 a.m. being like, "Where's Root Beer Tapper?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Anytime, you know?
And I will text you back 3 hours after I wake up.
Perfect. Well, yeah. Once again, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Arcade1Up.com. Is that what we should be sending
Yes.
to?
Please, yeah.
Arcade1Up.com. You know, you can learn more and have us notify you with more news. You could also go to our fan pages. You could also go to our official pages on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
Starting soon, yeah.
Starting soon. But
Push that.
yeah, soon. Soon.
We'll be everywhere eventually.
That's where you can
Perfect.
find information.
Awesome. Well, guys, yeah, thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of y'all's evening.